Come on! Get your motor running. Head out on the highway. Looking for adventure. And whatever comes our way. Hey, yeah, driving gonna make it happen. Take the world in a lemon race. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. Like a true nature child, we were born to be wild. We can climb so high, never wanna die. Born to be wild. Born to be wild. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, welcome back to Full Throttle TV. Tonight it's the Elite Championship Racing League. We're live from Bristol for the last race in round 1 of the playoffs. Someone looking to punch their ticket. Joshua Soucy has won the first 2 races of this round, so he's the only guy locked in at this point. We're going to see what happens here tonight. I'm Dean Doucette. In the booth with me, Mr. Brad Patterson. Brad, big night for these guys here.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, for some of these guys, it's going to be all about their season. 4 guys going to go or go home, if you will, try to make it into that final 12. But unfortunately, cut race number 1, we're going to say goodbye to 4 competitors as far as their chance for a championship here tonight.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. That's always the downside here is, people get in, people get out, and it can be tough for some. Let's get a quick look in on our championship standing. And you can see there, Soucy locked in, also leading the points. You got Wallace, Massey, Figueroa, Westerfield, McCullough, McCann, Dublé. Then you get and Johnson, I guess Stutzman and Bothwell in preferred positions as well. You got Hedrick, Mankowski, and Leby really on the edge here. Not sure how these guys are going to make out here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's that tight battle right there for 12th in particular. There's only divided out by a couple of points. 8 points between 12th and 13th, but then only 1 point back to 14th. So, small field that we do have here tonight will be a little bit to the advantage of the drivers that are currently in the top 12. But even then, man, I mean, this is Bristol. It looks like it's going to be a really racy night. The conditions and everything are set for a good, fast night. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. It's Bristol. We look into our keys to the race. Corner exit big. Some cars set up a little too loose, going to get loose off the corners. Stages, some big stage points tonight, and that could play big for someone. 10 points for the winner, down to 10th place, getting 1 point. Pit strategy, always big on these short tracks too, Brad. You find guys unwilling to give up track position at certain points. Well, guys at the back pit, when do the guys at the front pit? Do we get on a mixed strategy there?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those things that kind of actually helps these guys is a lower field tonight that will rule out the backstretch as a pit road as well. So that'll be a little bit easier for these guys coming to and from pit road. But we've seen it just in the playoffs here in the last 2 races. Coming to pit stop, making an error, coming to pit road can almost throw away your entire race, and we've seen that almost happen in this series in the last 2 races.
Yes, we have. Right now, I'd ask everybody to rise out of your seats and enjoy the singing of the national anthem by Alicia Shipman.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight red stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting midair, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave?
All right, as these guys continue to go on with some qualifying efforts here. Bit of a long qualifying, 10 minutes, Brad. These guys last chance, and right now on top of the board, Hedrick up there doing exactly what he needs to do to try and get in this thing.
Yeah, really doing everything he needs to do. Hedrick came in currently in the 13th position. We talked about him. He's about 8 points back from Jeremiah Stutzman. Stutzman looks like he's currently shown. Let's see if he's actually even taken a lap here during qualifying. He has yet to take a lap. So some of these guys opting for a little bit of game, if you will, a little gamesmanship. Wait till a little bit later on. A couple of laps around this joint here is going to take about a minute and a half to get your qualifying laps in. So we're going to see some guys come in right there at the very tail end, I think, of the qualifying session to try to make a little bit of a statement.
And I think David E. Moody, who we were watching, just did. He went to the top of the board with that lap. So great job by that 28 machine and Moody. And let's take a look at where he is in our playoff standings. Of course, Moody, the one guy not showing up on the standings. I'm not sure if we could get Brad to get that information for us or not, but Moody in this battle, for some reason, not plugged into the system. We have Moody, Hedrick, Wallace, your top three right now, McCann and Westerfield for qualifying here tonight.
Yeah, Moody's going to be a little bit further back. He's going to be about 25 points back, currently in the 15th position.
All right, so Moody needs a big night. Hedrick needs a big night. And they're 1-2 on the board, Brad. I mean, it's kind of impressive. I mean, it kind of shows you what the playoffs can do for someone. They know what they got to do. They get out there, and they practice, and they execute. They show exactly what they're capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. The interesting thing is going to be it's just one of those situations where it's all for naught. Right now they're sitting there. They got to be looking at that clock, because right now we saw our points leader of that 81. He's turning in his second lap time. Looks like he's going to be somewhere in the third or fourth position. Figueroa, he's starting to turn on some laps, and some of these guys at the tail end of this field are opting to go for this really late pit qualifying. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Moody's going to be able to tough it out right there in that top spot.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting. We watch Matthew George go around the track during his qualifying run. He's seen him cycle into a high. Oh, and he's loose at the line. Will it count? Yes, it will count. Up to 6th place for Matthew George.
Well, I will say so far tonight, Moody has the fastest time. That qualifying lap would be the fastest lap of the night, even throughout qualifying. It'd be interesting to see if that 96 of Brad Bothwell is going to be able to do anything, or Chris McCullum. Both of those were running in the 14.4s during practice. So the guys I'm pretty much looking forward to for the remainder of qualifying, if they can knock them off.
Yeah, it's a big if. I mean, it's one thing to lay it down in practice when you got unlimited amounts of opportunities, but one touch of that wall, one time getting loose at the line could kill 2 laps, Brad. How many times have we seen or done that where, you get loose on your first lap right towards the start-finish line, kills your second lap as well?
Absolutely. And with a long qualifying like we got here at 10 minutes, like we said, it takes 15 seconds to make a lap. So you make a mistake in 15 seconds, you got about 9 minutes to think about how bad you just screwed that one up before you get ready to go racing.
Absolutely, you do. Right now, though, everybody's starting to grit up here and get ready to go racing. Race 3 of round 1. Let's get into our starting lineup. On the pole, David E. Moody in the 28 with a time of 14.411 does hold the pole by quite a bit, actually. Mark Figueroa going to start on the outside of row number 1. Ryan Hedrick is going to start third with Joshua Soucy, our two-time winner during these playoffs in the 81, starting fourth. In the row number 3, it's James Wallace and Matthew George. And in row number 4, Matthew McCann and Jim Westerfield.
Row 5 is going to consist of the 97 of Stephen Mathey, as well as the 11 of Brian Dublé. Row 5, it's going to have Joshua Johnson and Jeremiah Stutzman. Brad Bothwell is going to roll off 13th, followed by John Mankowski, 15th tonight. That's going to be Chris McCullough, followed by 16th is going to be Kenny McCullough.
All right, these guys all lined up and getting ready to go, as are we. Looking forward to this one. Small field, should be some green flag action, but I'm expecting some comers and goers here tonight, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be one of the big keys, especially here early on, is tire conservation, if you will. Who's going to really try to just kind of power their way through the field and really use up their stuff versus you're going to have some guys, I think, that they're going to just kind of limit their lap times and just stay consistent for a while. And once you get about 20, 25 laps on these tires, I think that's where you're really going to start paying off. You might see some real comers and goers.
That is correct. Moody, Figueroa, Hedrick, and Soucy. And Soucy's been so dominant, Brad, winning the first 2 races. And now, here at Bristol, starting 4th, I mean, I guess I don't need to ask. We can expect him to move forward towards the front.
Yeah, absolutely. The question is, well, he's kind of playing with house money at this point. I mean, he's got nothing to lose here. But the question is is there somebody that he's going to be opt to try to make sure that they make it in, maybe a teammate, something like that, where he might be a little bit better of a teammate tonight racing for somebody else than himself. It's going to be very interesting, a whole lot of dynamics going in tonight, especially if there being a cutoff race.
There really is, Brad, and something you talk about sometimes. What about the fact that he is locked in? And how about ruffling feathers or not ruffling feathers? He's got to go into round number 2. This is not the time to go out here and make any enemies.
No, it really isn't. I mean, but it's Bristol. It's so easy to get into somebody. It's so easy to just kind of ruffle that feather, if you will. At the same time, it's so easy to end up on the back of a hook. And that's exactly what you're going to get if you kind of tangle on these straightaways. You can wreck on these straightaways and hit both inside, outside wall, and multiple cars. So you really got to be careful.
Really do need to be careful. And here we go. Moody and Figueroa up front, leading them down. He's going to be looking for a good jump. Pace car does come off early at this track.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag, down and away, and there he goes. Moody off and running. Down on the inside, Ryan Hedrick already looking solid there. Soucy up the track a little bit. Not quite looking up to stuff yet, but I mean, these things, as Brad said, lap 25 or so, going to be a big telltale sign.
Yeah, another telltale sign right now that I'm seeing is, high side, low side. That's a big question. We talked earlier on, you're primarily somebody who's going to run the bottom of this track. Yourself personally, you like the bottom of this racetrack. Looks like we got a lot of takers right now, kind of that midline, a groove up. It's not till you get a little bit further back into the field until you get back to, it looks like the 11 of Dublé running the top side, that 93 of John Mankowski running the extremely top side. You got some people like Stephen Massey really hunting that bottom. So a little bit of different variant strategies on just how you run the track.
Yeah, and this is kind of new here at Bristol. You're just going to see a lot more on the low line than you normally would, but you're going to have those holdouts running that high line where it's going to be interesting to see how they do. And you're right, Dublé really rocking the high line right now. We'll see how it plays out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we're 6 laps into this event right now. And the 71 of Jaron Stutzman, he's going to be the farthest guy on the back. He's currently in the 16th position. He's half a lap from going down already. So lap traffic is going to be one of those things that these leaders are going to have to deal with. They're going to have to deal with extremely early, as we're starting to get a battle for the lead right now as Figueroa closing in on the back of that 28 to the inside, actually.
Figueroa and the 00 making the move down low. Going to take this lead here, but fighting back is Moody on the outside.
And you just see such a different line there. You know, the bottom not able to get off the top side is going to be able to draw even. Running a little bit deeper is going to be whether or not he's going to be able to rotate off the center. It looks like the 28 will lead this lap again, but the 00 Figueroa had the preferred line on the bottom. He gets a great launch off, but you saw right there he had to check up a little bit because the 28 was there.
And that is the thing. I mean, it's one thing to say the low line might be faster. It's another thing when there's cars on the high line and you can't extend out. It really changes that dynamic.
Yeah, it really does. I think that Figueroa would have had the position. However, he got such a good launch off that bottom. He just needed that extra couple of feet. Unfortunately, David Moody was right there in that 28 to take it away. And, you know, we're status quo right now up front, right behind them. We're going to have Soucy. He's going to be in that 81. He's going to be in clear sailing now. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to make up any time on these guys, as he's a little bit over 2 seconds back.
And you got to think he will. I mean, this is a tale. A little bit of experience I have here on Bristol tells me that these guys running out here have really fast cars and really good cars, but they're going to stall out a little bit on the long run. So we're going to see how that plays out. You got a guy like Soucy back there in third. James Wallace now in 4th place. He's looking very good here tonight, up a spot on the night. You know, Hedrick, George back here, Westerfield, we know his long run capability. Behind him, Massey fighting down low, trying to take these spots away.
Yeah, so far we haven't seen any type of advancement, if you will, from Soucy. He's currently about 2.3 seconds back. Not really gaining anything. If anything, just hundreds, if you will, or thousands, not quite tenths yet. But what I am seeing, though, is that 28 getting a little bit higher up in the line, and that 00 Figueroa, he's no longer really running that bottom. He's running a little bit halfway up the field, halfway up. So already you're starting to see a little bit of handling issues, and I won't even really say it's issues, but just not being able to turn the lap times that you were doing a little bit earlier.
Let's just look in on our lap times right now. Guess who? Soucy, fastest man on the track, a 14.99.
Yeah, that 14.99 looks like the last one right now by Moody. That's going to be a 15.1. Figueroa is going to be clocking somewhere in the neighborhood of a 15.0. Soucy again with the 15.0 as well. So, you know, we're talking about hundreds and thousands right now that Soucy's making up right now, not the tenths that he's going to need. The lead is still going to be about 2.2, 2.18. So he's starting to make minute gains, but gains nonetheless. And that's one of those things, you know, here on lap 19, as we go a little bit further into this run, I expect that 81 will probably get a little bit better every run, as, you know, we're starting to see these gain 2/10 over the last 3 laps.
Yeah, I mean, Bristol, you know, a 2-second lead is huge, and a tenth is almost unthinkable to gain on someone. But, you know, we're going to see it, Matt. I told you, these guys out here leading, they're going to fade a little bit. You cannot be that fast. I mean, you can. I shouldn't speak out of turn. It's unlikely that you can be that fast and have a car built for the long run, especially with how you're driving it at the moment. But we'll see. Soucy gaining here in 3rd, Wallace 4th, Hedrick 5th, Matthew George now looking underneath the 23 of Ryan Hedrick, and he pulls back in line.
Yeah, ironically, a short track like this is kind of more like a road course, if you will. You know, you kind of mess up one corner. You don't just mess up the corner. You mess up the corner. You mess up the straightaway. You mess up the next corner entry and everything like that as far as your mile per hour. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. You're seeing the 81 of Soucy. He's brought it down to a second, so he's gained a second in about 4 laps.
Yeah, he's already there. He's already sniffing these guys, as Figueroa knows it. He's trying to make a move, can't get it done on Moody. I mean, the thing with rolling the bottom like that is you're going to have to wait. I mean, we are at that 25 lap part, and this is what we talked about earlier in the broadcast, Brad, when things change up on you.
Yeah, the problem with that is we just like we said, lap 25. This is a huge swing. So these guys can probably go easily 85, 100, 125 laps, if you will, on fuel, not necessarily on tires. They don't want to necessarily do that, but if you're giving up 2 seconds in about an 8-9 lap span, contact,
Soucy and Figueroa coming up by the looks of it, and just getting into Soucy there. I'm not sure. We might have to get a look on that, a replay on that. I think we will right now. He just kind of drifted up there. Get a little different look here.
Some drivers have a tendency to just kind of want to flare it out just a little bit before they get entry on a lot of these corners and whatnot. Sometimes it's just enough just to get you a little bit of piece of trouble.
The one thing I will say, Brad, is great job by these two. They both held their position, did not totally wreck their machines out. So great driving by them post-contact.
Yeah, and while we were watching that, though, unfortunately, Moody on the exit of 2 there got a little bit of piece of the wall, wasn't able to keep it down in the race where it gets another piece of the wall, almost gets into Double. But we saw Soucy, get by him, as right now Figueroa has been able to go by him as well. So that 28 not handling any well as well on exit. More than anything, it looks like he's just not got the grip he needs. He's getting a little bit pushed and a little bit wide on exit.
Yeah, it tends to happen with these faster sets. They get a little tight. It looks like he's a little tight here right now. The 51 looks a little loose, but he looks racy. I think James Wallace is the guy to watch here tonight. But up front, your new race leader, guess who? Mr. Joshua Soucy.
Yeah, you got to be asking yourself, if you're these competitors, what exactly are you going to have to do to be able to compete with this gentleman? You've seen it. He's won the back-to-back races right now, firmly in control, 1.3 seconds ahead, and still pulling away, and that's coming from 1.6 ahead right now. And mind you, he had to run him down from a little bit over a 2-second gap. So, equal footing, if you will. He would have about a 4-second lead, and I don't think it's going to be long until you're going to see exactly that. As our second place competitor there, Figueroa, he lost another half a second in a lap on a half-mile track here.
Yeah, Figueroa is starting to fade a little bit here. The guy to watch that's trying to close, I think, is Wallace. He's got a lap car to work with right now, but I like the line he's running. I like the way that car looks, so he's going to be tough. Moody now under heat from Stephen Massey and Ryan Hedrick. Matthew George right there as well. Oh, and Hedrick's loose.
Yeah, 23 got extremely loose on the exit 2 there. Had to chase it down to the bottom, had to jump out of the throttle, make sure he was going to be able to get it back underneath him. He's going to find himself currently, it looks like, probably in the 7th position. But before too long, he's going to have that 11 of Double coming up on the back of him as well. In front of him, there's going to be a tremendous amount of battle right there. You got the 97, you got the 28, 23 of Hendrick. All these guys, nose to tail, really nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go. And, these are big points, Brad. We talk about the points battle for the top 12 moving forward here. And you've got a guy like David E. Moody sitting now in 5th. He sat on the pole. He ran out to an early lead, but he's fading. And as we look at the stage, the stage going to be on lap 125. We're on lap 41. We're coming up. I think pit stops probably happen at the halfway mark, but don't count on that. I've been wrong so many times. But a guy like Moody or Hedrick, both down 4 spots on the night. These guys need big runs here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you talked about it, the top 12 are going to come from here right now. Currently in 12th position. Coming into this race was Brad Bothwell. Hedrick was 13th. He was 8 points back. Look at the field right now. Hedrick sits in 7th, Bothwell in 12th. So that points battle tightening up. And, when we get to that stage race, only the top 10 are going to get points, so those could be some valuable points that the 23 machine could be able to take away from that 96 to get himself a little bit closer to getting locked into the top 12.
Yeah, Bothwell back here in the Hornets' nest. He's got Chris McCullough behind him, Kenny McCullough in front of him. Kenny McCullough looking sharp tonight. The 03 up 6 spots so far this evening. And now Bothwell making a move on him. So Bothwell starting to come forward, starting to close that points gap as he comes forward. And Hedrick and Moody fade back. Massey able to get around Moody now at this point. Let's look at him, and he's pulled away. Moody fading quickly. He's got Hendrick and Dublé right there with him.
Yeah, Massey doing a great job tonight. You know, I'm watching him, and he's running a very different line. He's doing exactly what you'd like to see. You know, 1 and 2 looks like he's running the bottom, and 3 and 4 he's kind of doing a little bit more of a diamond. That time he ran a little bit more of the bottom, but in times past he's been kind of charging the corner a little bit more, letting it drift up a little bit higher, and then cutting down, kind of diamonding it off is behind him. Looks like the battle is starting to heat up as well. You're going to have the 28 of Moody, Hedrick, Dublé, McCann all right there together.
Yeah, McCann trying to come underneath Dublé. Can't make that stick. Hedrick up the track. He's thinking about trying to get a run here on Moody. Can't quite do it there. Moody holding on for dear life here in 6th place.
Yeah, these guys currently right there about the 10.5, 11 seconds back from our leaders. So you got to be sitting there thinking, you know, our leader's only going to be about 4 or 5, maybe 6 seconds back from these guys. So, you know, they got to not only settle this, but they got to be able to turn it and start getting some clean laps. And because if they just continue to run side by side and just hemorrhage time to your leader right there, before too long, they're going to be looking at him and looking at going a lap down.
They're definitely, it won't be long. As you see Soucy there on the track, quickly coming up on these guys. My goodness. Back to James Wallace has taken over 2nd place. And, you know, I've been talking about him, Brad. I like the looks of Wallace. Now let's look in on our last lap times. You got a 15.77 out of Soucy. Wallace with a 15.9. Now that might have been in some traffic. Let's give it another lap and see what we can see. So still Soucy a 10th faster, but Wallace is 2nd fastest and George 3rd fastest, currently in 3rd. So our top 3 kind of showing the long run speed that they have.
Yeah, and you talked about it early, that 51 of Wallace. You know, he was extremely loose early on, and I think that's the key to this. You know, you got to be kind of loose, if you will, going into this race. And you just kind of deal with the car for a couple of laps, you know, the first 15, 20 laps. And you got to let the car come into you, you know, where most of these guys, we're seeing them, they're getting extremely tight. They're not able to make the center of the corner. They're having to really get out of the throttle, where the 51, the 50, you know, these guys, they've let their car come to them. And it's extremely interesting to see, you know, the 51, he's a proponent of that high line. He's been on the top, the center to the top, but right behind him in that 50, Matthew George, he's been around the bottom of this racetrack the entire time.
George is coming. I mean, George looks good out here, really good. He's rolling that bottom extremely well, and I think that seems to be the new way around Bristol here. So Matthew George in the 50 looking sharp, and he is moving towards the front.
Yeah, absolutely. That time by George was actually the fastest car on the track. Granted, our leader, Adrian Soucy, he's in heavy lap traffic right now. He is on the inside of the 11 of Dublé, right in front of him. That's going to be that 23 of Hedrick. So he's caught in right to the back of this field, but in front of that's going to be Jeremiah Stutzman. So our leader having to tiptoe his way through, that's going to open up the door a little bit, at least for the 2nd and 3rd place, to try to make up a little bit of time on him, you would think.
It just shows you the speed of the 81, though. I mean, these guys out here battling tooth and nail, can't really pass each other. Soucy just picks them off like they're nothing. Well, maybe not like they're nothing, but he's through and gone.
Yeah, this is where patience really makes everything, though. You got to not only be patient to try to pick your move to not lose anything, but at the same time, you got to be, you know, kind of mindful of, you know, risk versus reward. You're leading the, you know, you've got 2 in the bank, if you will, as far as the championship goes. You're coming up now on some competitors, you know, that are really fighting to try to make it in when you got McCann, Stutzman, Moody, Bothwell, calling all these guys. Looks like the 57. He's going to come to pit road. Joshua Johnson, first taker on pit road. He's currently already showed 2 laps down. But, how much do you risk early on trying to make it through? Looks like he's going to try to go to the inside of the 53, as it looks like the 53 is going to just wave him by and let him go by. But you got to, every single time he pulls up on somebody, you got to think that you got to rig, you got to kind of weigh that.
I mean, Moody, race leader, pole sitter, already a lap down. Unbelievable. And Matthew George making a move for second place here as him and Wallace do battle.
And they've closed in a little bit. They've made up about 3/4 of a second on our leader. I got to think most of that is due to lap traffic and the 81 just being mindful and trying to make sure he takes care of all of his equipment. But that battle, now see, that's going to be interesting.
Figueroa already serviced, I believe, unless he missed something there. I'm not sure if he made it in or didn't make it in, or if he just kind of got loose and got down there. I don't know, Brad.
I'll check in on it.
But Figueroa back in 13.
Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. Figueroa off of 2, lost that machine, actually went in, caught the inside wall, looped it around completely, able to get it fired back and rolling again. So it's definite damage to that 00. Did not come to pit road, just some minor damage, if you will. Looks like the hood is missing off that 00.
I don't know if it is. It's a black paint scheme there, and it can be really deceiving, Brad. I've made that mistake before.
Oh, no, you're right. It's there. It's actually a black paint scheme of the motor itself.
Yeah, it's a little tomfoolery there, I guess. Right now, Soucy leading, George in second, and George, you got to like what he's been able to do on the long run.
Yeah, he's looked really good. He's one of the competitors that I think he's got the car the way he needs it. I just not sure if he's got the short run speed, if you will. Oh, it was right there in front of him, the 93 into the wall.
So did not see that. The 93 catching the wall, perhaps causing him to check up a little bit. Not going to safely make that move, but you got to like the way, the 51 of James Wallace there played it pretty safe, and maybe overly safe, but that's smart here in a points competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to sit there and think about it. You're into the situation, and I hate to say it as a racer myself, what are you racing for here? Are you racing for the win? So are you really racing the 81, or are you just racing the competitors to be able to get into the championship? If you do not make it into the top 12, there's not even a possibility of a championship. The 81 can go and win and sweep this entire series, and that's going to be a phenomenal feat. But if you're not in those 12, it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. And we look in on Chris McCullough just getting put a lap down by our race leader, Joshua Soucy. So that is up to 6th place is the last on the lead lap. That's going to be Jeremiah Stutson. Now, you talked about him early, Brad. He was last on the track, and way back, here he is, last guy in the lead lap. He looks like he's got something tonight.
Yeah, I'm actually very impressed by that 71. I think he is the gentleman that we spoke about early on when you got guys that are going to go out and they're going to run Pacific lap times. They don't care what everybody else is going to run. They're going to let them get away from them. Because we saw early on, Stutzman, last car in the lead lap, 8-9 seconds back from our leader, if you will, and he's really only lost, call it 4 seconds to our leader this entire, 77 laps. So that's 71 doing a great job conserving the tires, and he's got the speed when he needs it right now, which is going to be at the end of this field, as he's closing in on a 4th position right now.
Brad, he was and is our fastest man on the track, faster than Soucy, faster than Wallace, and he has caught Stephen Massey. He'll be taking this spot right quickly.
Yeah, you only got to wonder, by falling back so early, conserving those tires, will it do you in? Is it enough of a gap? Will you be able to pull enough of a gap away from our leader of that 81 to make sure that you yourself don't get caught 1 lap down, as he's dealing with Stephen Massey right now? He's going to work to the inside of him again. That car looking extremely good on the
Oh,
bottom.
and in front of him. In front of him, someone was off the track there.
Yeah, that was the 93 of John Minkowski. I think he just wanted to get out of the way. He didn't want to be a part of that battle. It's actually the 71 of Stutzman, able to make his way by up to the 4th position.
Yeah, Stutzman looking good. That lap just barely, that is showing a little faster than George and Soucy on that lap, so he's still coming. Stutzman, I love what he's done. Like you said, how much, like he lost too much at the beginning. He's up 8 spots on the night. So, I mean, it's incredible. Him, Brad Bothwell, someone we were worried about around the point situation. Not only has he passed his competitors, he's now up to 5th. He's up 8 spots on the night.
Yeah, a little bit of cat and mouse. You know, those were the guys early on where, you know, looking at the situation, I was like, man, these guys might drop a lap early. For all intents and purposes, that's exactly what was going to happen to them. But, you know, they're able to maintain their pace throughout this entire long run right there. Stutzman turning a 1590 to Soucy's 1590, but still Stutzman a little bit quicker. So Stutzman still the fastest car on the track, just by a little bit over our leader, but doing everything he needs to do essentially to make sure he stays in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, he looks great. I love the way he's rolling these corners. Much faster than our leader overall. Lap after lap, he's picking up tenths here. Now, he is 14 seconds behind. This is going to take some doing, but make no mistake about it, Stutzman on clear track, fastest man out there right now.
Well, he doesn't have to necessarily come around and pass the 81. He just has to stay on the same lap as him, really, in order for this to be a victory overall. You know, fighting for a championship, trying to get in there, doing everything he needs. As he's going to pull up on the back of the 51 of Wallace right now. He's a little bit quicker than Wallace. You see him able to utilize the bottom where Wallace is up on the top. Wallace almost gets into the top lane right there. It looks like the 71's going to be able to have him on exit here, as we're going to use the 28 as a little bit of a pick.
Yeah, 28 really struggling here. We hop on board with Jeremiah Stutzman, and he's got a little bit of clean track here. Maybe we just take a lap with him and see what we can see. I mean, he's right on the bottom, Brad.
Yeah, he's looking very good. You don't see a whole lot of movement. One thing, you know, looking at that wheel, you don't see a whole lot of wheel going into the right-hand side of the mobile. So not a lot of corrections, just being very good, very smooth on the bottom. It's not really pushing up there in the center of the corner or anything like that. He's making some excellent lap times, you know, in the 1590 still, where our leader, he's running 16.2s, and our leader's coming up on, you know, traffic 2x2 in front of him.
Let's have a look out the window of Soucy, and you can see here he's got Hedrick and Moody right in front of him. Two guys needing a big night, struggling here on the long run. Soucy to the high side. He's now going to split the middle. That's not good. He backs out, but he had a guy behind him. Great job by Joshua Johnson pulling up there. He's going to go 3 wide again, and they're 3 wide, 4 wide almost behind him. My goodness.
Yeah, we talked about that risk versus reward right there, and I think you had a situation where Soucy was going to try to do it and thought a little bit of it, and his competitors around him understood what was happening, and ultimately they, on the second go around of 3 wide, if you will, they were going to be like, all right, you just go, you do your thing, we're going to do us here.
Mankowski is in the pits. Westerfield already pitted. We'll see how this pays off for him. He's absolutely flying out here. Now on the back of our leader, Soucy. Soucy's got to be careful, as does Westerfield, and around he goes. I mean, as if Soucy's standing still.
Yeah, absolutely. Westerfield right now running a 15.20. Soucy, our leader, running a 16.2. So you're seeing a second difference between the two of them. But right now, Stutzman still 0.2 to the better, if you will, of our leader, starting to close in a little bit on Matthew George. Again, from the start of this race, that 71 was about, 7 to 8 seconds back from our leader is where it pretty much stabilized. So in all reality, distance to the leader, he's only actually lost about 2 to 3 seconds. So one of the fastest cars on the racetrack is Moody. Takes himself to pit road, takes that 28 to the pit road to get some 4 fresh tires on it.
Yeah, and I like the call from these guys who are pitting if your car's not handling well. Unfortunately for them, this is way too late. They're going to come out with about 25 to go in this stage, so they're not going to be able to make up any ground. I'm not sure why they would wait that long, but they probably didn't want to pit. Just the car handling, Brad. They just didn't want to drive it anymore.
No, absolutely. That's a great thing. And I got to sit here and think that, you know, looking back at everything going on right now, that 71 might be exactly where he wants to be. You know, running good lap times, fresh tires. That time right there, a sub 16-second lap time. I don't see that car coming to pit road.
No, I don't see any of these guys coming to pit road, these leaders, during this first stint. They're going to make the 125, I would think. It's possible they have to pit, but highly unlikely in my opinion. So just for reference here, Brad, we look at our top 10. If you look at the standings there, do you see anybody in here who's going to get some good points here? Maybe Stutzman, maybe George, maybe Bothwell, or anybody else on this list that's going to have to do some damage here in the playoff standings with these stage points.
Well, right now it looks like Bothwell came in one back, but he came in one back from Stutzman. Stutzman having a great night, if you will. He was just 1 point back from Joshua Johnson. Joshua Johnson 4 laps down, currently in the 14th position. I don't think it's going to be very good for him, if you will. I think he's going to be dropping out of the top 12 currently. Then the next person you really got to look at, Brian Dublé. Currently he's shown in the 9th position. Dublé was only 9 points up on Johnson, 10 points up on Stutzman. So that's really where it's going to get interesting, because Bothwell was right there. He was only 1 point behind Stutzman as well. So I think the big question is going to be, you know, essentially McCullen, McCain, Dublé, and Johnson. Those are the guys that really have something to lose here, as all of them only had about a 9 point cushion.
All right, could be interesting here. Maybe we should write down these top 10. Is this going to be very difficult to figure out during the second half of this race? But right now, Joshua Soucy, your race leader, putting on a show. He's got a 6-second advantage over Matthew George. We got 15 laps left here in stage number 1. Jeremiah Stutson continues to be the fastest man on the track. He's pulled 5 seconds on our race leader over the last 50 laps. So he is absolutely flying here. Then you got Bothwell in 4th, having a nice run. He's up 9 spots on the night. The 96 looking really good. And James Wallace, he's had flashes both ways. Looked like a long run car, looked like a short run car. I'm thinking he's just a little too loose out there, but we'll see if he can make some adjustments. Massey in 6th. McCullough, Chris McCullough that is, up 8 spots. He's in 7th, a lap down. Matthew McCann in 8th, Dublé 9th, and Kenny McCullough Jr. in 10th spot. Soucy just crushing it out here. Ken Stutzman with 13 laps to go. Let's hop on board and see what he sees out here. Can he catch George, who's about 2.5 seconds ahead of him? You can see George up there ahead of him, but can he catch up and get to him? I don't know.
It's going to be close. I mean, the laps tick off so fast here around this half-mile racetrack, and these guys just continue to make extremely quick laps, as you see right now. You know, Stutzman's still in the 16.1s, if you will. George currently looking at about a 16.1 as well, so not losing a whole lot of time. So the times have kind of gone a little bit stagnant, if you will, as far as our top 3, all within a tenth of each other. So nobody really making any big chunks right there. George with the 16.1, Stutzman, or excuse me, a 16.3, Stutzman with the 1. The difference is George has a lot of lap traffic right now. He's fighting with trying to get to the outside of him. Once he clears them, though, you got to think that that's going to put Stutzman in that same situation in a couple laps where he's going to have to try to be able to get by him. And, you know, I think basically our top 3 is exactly what you're going to see at the end of the stage, barring any some sort of, wild incident.
Yeah, it's looking like that's going to be. Let's see if we can find any fights out on the track. We have Wallace back here in 5th spot. And he's got our race leader underneath him. Let's stay with this and see how this goes. They're both coming up on Hendrick, and wow, one high, and our leader gets stuck behind him. Great job of checking up there instead of trying to force it 3 wide. We know how that would have went.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't even really been paying attention to it really. That 81's been so dominant all night, but if you look on the track, George is catching him as well. Stutzman and George pulling back a lot of time. Stutzman actually not having a good lap that time. Actually lost a little bit of time. Again, I think it was dealing with that lap traffic. But even the 50 of Matthew George starting to make some headway, if you will, in the 81.
He is. But let's get a quick look in before the stage ends here on David E. Moody in the 28. Definitely struggling with that car. Down on the apron a little bit, up the track. Comes off the corner, a little wiggle, another little wiggle, and bam, a little loose, down to the inside wall, and no caution. That's tragedy for the 28.
Yeah, the 28 has retired from the night. So one of our points contender, Moody, coming into this race, he was 15th in points. He is retired from the night. Right behind him, you've also had John Minkowski. He was 14th in points coming into this race, retire as well. So really the battle is for the top 13. That's going to be Hedrick, Bothwell, Stutzman, and Johnson. Those are going to be your guys right there in that bubble. On track there, you see that 51. That 51 of James Wallace fighting for everything he can do on the top side. Going to try to do everything he can to stay on this lead lap. And this could be important, not only for James Wallace, but for Stephen Massey, more importantly, of whether or not he's going to be one car getting the lucky dog or if he's going to be just stuck one lap down.
And it looks like Soucy playing friendly here, going to allow him to stay on the lead lap unless he's just that good all of a sudden. But I think there's a little bit of friendship out here. Wallace going to remain on the lead lap. We're on the last lap of the stage. Here comes Joshua Soucy through 3, coming out into 4, and yes, Wallace will hold him off. Soucy going to win that stage. Matthew George going to come in second. Jeremiah Stutson third. Brad Bothwell will finish 4th. Great run for him. And Wallace 5th. Massey, McCullough, Chris McCullough that is, Matthew McCann, Brian Dublé, and Kenny McCullough, your stage points winners.
And that will be big because, like I said, the 97 is Stephen Massey. He will now become the lucky dog. He will be able to get back on the lead lap without any type of penalty, if you will. So that'll put him in 6th place on the lead lap, which is very important because going in, again, he was 3rd in the points going into this battle.
He loved that, and I think Soucy did do him a bit of a favor there. That's a great thing to do because that's kind of as these playoffs go forward. It's like, hey James, remember when? How about a little racing room here?
No such thing. No such thing.
no memory in that regard. But I tell you, they got long memories when it comes to wrecks. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Everybody coming in here to pit road to get their cars serviced. Some guys a lap down will have to wait a lap here to get onto pit road. But Soucy, George, Stutzman, Wallace in. But Bothwell did not come in. Inexplicably, Bothwell missed pit road. Now, this should not really hurt him. I mean, it'll take him out of 4th. And when he's done his pit stop, he'll probably fall to 7th. So there is some pain there, but it's minimized by how many people are lapped, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if we do jump into the point system here, if you will, Joshua Johnson, he went into this, looks like 1 point to the good. He went in, tied for 10th, and he finished outside of our top 10. So right there, that's one driver that's going to drop out of our top 12, if you will. Both Bothwell and Stutzman will leapfrog him with those points of that stage. So now it looks like we're going to have Joshua Johnson on the outside looking in. And I have to kind of do a little bit of math here to see if Dublé is going to be in that same situation, if you will. Yes, Dublé will also be in that same situation. So we're currently Dublé and Johnson out looking in. Stutzman and Bothwell, Dublé, it's going to be Johnson, Stutzman, and Dublé will be our final. Right now, though, currently Johnson is on the outside looking in.
Joshua Johnson currently on pit road here. He is in trouble, no doubt about that. The 57 got to make some adjustments to that machine and get something going here and get a couple of points.
Yeah, that's really, they're kind of opened it up on him a little bit. He came into this, like I said, 2 points to the good, but both of those drivers, Bothwell and Stutzman, Stutzman obviously coming home third, getting 7 points, and Bothwell was, I believe, fifth or sixth. So you got another four. So they're both, respectively, anywhere from 3 to 7 points to the good now.
Bothwell losing a couple of spots by not pitting. When he was able to pit, that was on the lead lap, and he missed that opportunity. Probably very tricky here, Brad, at Bristol. You exit almost every track off of turn 4. And here you exit off of turn 2, and you got to go through all the other pit stalls and come around the corner and then get to another row of pit stalls.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes just not paying attention to where you're at on this track, you can get so easily turned around as far as, am I on the front stretch, am I on the back stretch? All of a sudden you're making adjustments and, trying to make things out. As pace car is going to be in.
Green flag.
Wow, and we are back racing here. And I was a little asleep at the wheel, but Soucy out in front. George trying to take second. Stutzman fighting on the low side. He's got James Wallace on the high side.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to be very interested in what that 71 is going to do. It looks like the 71 is going to do exactly what he did that first time. He's just going to let these guys go. He's going to run his race, his lap times, do exactly what he needs to do because he's already seen it work for him. And right now he's going to start further up the field, so he might not lose as much track position, but it makes you kind of wonder, should he maybe try to put a little bit more emphasis in, maybe, put a little bit more time into it.
Well, the thing is, will he get wrecked? Right? It's one thing to run your race and run your speed, but someone behind you could run you over. He's got to be careful here. And
Yeah,
now he's almost put 3 wide right there. So he's got to, get single file here. He's gonna look at him right down the track, Brad. He is so set on running this. He went to the apron to let those guys by.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with this is this is banking 100% on no cautions and that you can catch them again. I mean, pulling over onto the apron, slowing down that much, I mean, it puts you at a very distinct disadvantage.
Oh, and a wreck! We have one! It's Wallace, the 35, involved as well.
All right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
That's a lap car. Jim Westerfield involved in that.
And George was forced down pit road.
There's a lot going on. Let's go back and first look at what happened to Kenny McCullough Jr. And I don't think this is actual caution here, but let's go and see what happened to George.
George is still on pit road. He's having to cycle through pit road because he was forced down on trying to avoid that incident.
So George gets loose, the 35 gets into him, and the 51 who's up high gets collected, and it's tragedy for all these guys. Now, Brad, I'm sorry to cut you off there. Highlight us on what else is going on there.
Well, I was just saying, Matthew George got forced down on pit road. He had to go through the track on pit road both times. It's going to be interesting to see what exactly happens there, if he lost a lap or not. Going so slow down around this track on pit road. Looks like we will have takers to pit road. Looks like the 97, the 71, and the 00 all to pit road.
Yeah, very interesting. I think it's a good call with the amount of guys that are on the lead lap. That's the big thing. So, there's only 7 cars, maybe 8, I'm not sure, on the lead lap. This is going to allow these guys to come in and get pit service and also come back out in great shape. Now, I think Brian Dublé might be our lucky dog, but I'm not sure on that, Brad.
I think he is, and I think actually it sounds like the 50 of Matthew George is going to be under some sort of penalty from what just happened, like an EOL possibly.
A league admin penalty there for the 50 of George. Now I'm not too sure about was it George who got loose there?
George did get loose. He did end up down pit road and whatnot, but it's just
Let's
one of
get
those.
another look at that replay. So George in front of the 35. Yes, he gets loose, and Westerfield gets into him. Now, I mean, I'm not going to try to decipher what a league determines or not, but a car getting loose, not necessarily a horrific thing, but it is awfully bad for a couple of those guys. But I don't know who this benefits, Brad. That's the main thing I'm trying to think about is who does this caution benefit? I guess Dublé, but he came into pit. I don't think he got a lucky dog. I'm a little at a loss here.
Let's see.
So it looks like maybe Dublé has. So Dublé on the lead lap in 7th place. You got Matthew McCann, who's on pit road now. Now, he'll be only 1 lap down. Maybe he did get the lucky dog to put him 1 lap instead of 2 laps down.
I was going to say that it benefits Stutzman. Stutzman came down and got 4 fresh tires. The problem is he's lining up in the 2nd row. And you know he's just going to drop to the back. Again, you would think if you're somebody like Stutzman, you know, you come in, you top off, you do whatever you got to do to make sure you're at the back of the field, knowing that you're not going to run that speed. As pace cars in, it's a very predicament,
Green.
you know, very bad situation being a car running at the front of the field, not going at full speed.
It is, but I mean, if you want to win, you cannot go to the back. There's just too much field. He has to find a way to go slow and hold as many positions as he can. I mean, he is, you know, we got a little less laps here. Now only 106 to go on these tires instead of 125. It looks like he's running a little faster here this time.
Well, maybe he decided that, you know, the difference in tires that he has as far as an advantage over the 81 is enough, and that's all he's going to need. And, you know, being able to come down, get 4, now he's going to be racing for everything he can. As the 81 into the wall looks like just barely on the exit there.
Yeah, we're watching Bothwell out here. Now remember, he stayed out. He's taken the lead. So Brad Bothwell up here with the race lead. He's got to save a little bit so he doesn't use up his stuff. But this is great for him. It's also good for Stutzman that, you know, they hold up the 81 a little bit here, but there's no holding him up. He's on by, and here comes Massey.
Yeah, Bothwell just doing everything he can right now just to try to make it. You know, he was coming into this race, he was 12th in points, 1 point back. You know, we know Stutzman made some ground. We know Bothwell made a little bit of ground. The big thing now is just not giving it up.
Yeah, Bothwell himself had a really nice run, so he's got to realize he's on older tires, and these are some fast cars. As you see Wallace come underneath him. He's got himself a spot here, though, right in front of Stutzman. He can just kind of ride here, take it easy. Yeah, Stutzman will get you on the long run, but a top 5 would be great for him. That would solidify him into round number 2.
Well, the only person he's really racing, though, is that 57 of Joshua Johnson, who's currently 4 laps down. You know, that's why I don't understand why he didn't come in and go ahead and get those tires. He's not really even racing Stutzman or anybody. He's in just with the situation happening between Moody, Minkowski, Hedrick, and Johnson.
We'll talk a little bit about that, Brad, like the importance when you get into playoffs of knowing your situation. Number one, you don't have a team. You don't have, presumably, right, like it's sim racing, you don't have a bunch of guys in your ear telling you the situation, giving you live updates. So you got to do your own homework pre-race. Now, you know, just talk a little bit about the importance of knowing who you're racing and the situation you are in.
Oh, man, it is so difficult, and that's one of those things that I always feel for these guys because they don't have that necessarily.
Oh, and we're on Johnson. He's correcting. What a save by Joshua Johnson. I mean, you got to go back and look at that, Brad. Unbelievable. 3, 4, 5 wiggles. He saves it. He's still alive, but barely.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw him, you know, just tank slapping the entire way. You know, I think that car was sideways more than it was going down the straightaway straight. Live to fight another day. That's exactly what just happened right there. Johnson not having the race he needed, currently in 13th in points. We already talked about it. Lost quite a few points, didn't get any stage points, currently shown on the outside looking in. But going back to your point with Bothwell, you know, they don't necessarily have that information that they need. And that's one of those situations where you got to kind of play it to the you got to know who you're racing going into this race. It doesn't matter if you know how they're finishing, how they're not. You should be able to see where they are in the running order, and you got to somewhat play it conservative.
Yeah, I mean, like, you got to know who you got to beat. I mean, you might have a multi-lap gap to someone like you do to Joshua Johnson. No, nothing. You don't have to do anything except for not wreck. So you don't want to put yourself in any positions, any bad positions. But we're all race car drivers, Brad. I don't think sometimes it doesn't matter what information you have. You're going to go race. I mean, right now that's what Stephen Massey's doing. He's staying on the tail of that 81. We know that the long run is going to favor that 81, but for now, Massey up there fighting. And Chris McCullough, who's a lap down, he's looking good. He's coming underneath Massey right now.
Yeah, McCullough looking pretty good. I got to assume that he was able to come down that last time and get some tires, probably on a little bit fresher tires, as he's starting to just really pull away from the 97, and he's starting to eat in, if you will, into the lead of the 81.
James Wallace on to pit road. What has happened to the 51 of James Wallace? Let's see if we can queue up some kind of replay.
Well, the 51 was involved in that last wreck, if you will. He got quite a bit of damage from it. Looks like he's going to come in and get some tires. The question is whether or not he got a little bit of the wall before that or not.
I think this is a case of overheating from that wreck. He probably had to come in and take a bunch of tape off, and you know, that's really going to end his night effectively, whether he gets back on the track or not. Soucy first, Massey second, Bothwell now in third with that pit from Wallace. So Bothwell looking to be good to go here. You got Dublé in fourth, and I think you said he might be good to go at this spot as well, Brad.
Yeah, Dublé's good. I mean, he came in tied for the 9th position. All he has to do is maintain, and he's definitely in, as the 51 of Wallace is going to be able to pull away from this pit road right now. You got quite a bit of damage fixed on that as well. He came in second in points. He is in no particular, peril, if you will, of being out of the top 12 leaving this race. So right now we're really looking at Stutzman, Dublé. He's in. Stutzman currently, he's going to be to the good. Johnson, unfortunately, I think he's going to be on the outside. Dublé, he's good. It looks like everybody else is pretty much kind of status quo, if you will. The big names, if you will, Hedrick, Moody, Minkowski, those guys fell early, unfortunately, as well as Johnson. And that's really going to set the tone for the end of this race, provided nobody wrecks out.
It's a big provided.
At Bristol, exactly.
At Bristol, no doubt. As we see Figueroa there on the 00, holding off Dublé on the high side. He's got the 50 of Matthew George right there. We know how good Matthew George has been on the long run. Stutzman, let's see where Stutzman is. He's back here in a nice, comfortable position, all alone on the track, Brad, and just, waiting for that long run to happen.
Yeah, and this is what he did earlier. He fell back to about 8.5 seconds, and he just kind of maintained that gap for like 50 laps, 60 laps. And then he started to really make his gains. And that's kind of what he's doing. I mean, I'm just kind of looking in on his lap times here, if you will. And they're consistent, 15.3, 15.3, 15.3, 15.4, 15.3. So, I mean, he's dialed in on a specific lap time. And, it was a little bit quicker, actually a little slower than the first go-around. But he keeps it consistent.
So you see James Wallace coming by our leader, getting a lap back there after having to make that unscheduled pit stop. We'll see how that plays out for him. But back to who we were talking about, Stutzman. So, Stutzman did fall, just so you know, Brad. He fell to about 15 seconds off our race leader. So he now about closing in on close to 9 seconds back. He's 6 seconds ahead of where he was, and he closed by the end of the run to about 6 seconds. So this could be interesting.
Yeah, but I think the biggest difference is if I'm looking at Soucy here, Soucy's not running as fast as he was running that first go around either. Currently, with the amount of lap times that he had currently, he would still be in about the 14.8s and whatnot. He's running in the 15.3s. So he's actually matching the lap times, if you will, of the 71 just being a little bit slower. So I'm not sure you're going to see the fall off that you did originally with that 81. Because remember, that 81 started and he kind of fell back a little bit. He had to make up about 3 seconds to get back to the leaders to fight for the lead.
Well, that's true, and those are great points. I mean, one thing Soucy is that, you know, he's a thinking man's driver, so he's going to adjust. He's seen what Stutzman did. He's seen what George did. He's going to make some adjustments, and we see Jim Westerfield coming into pit road. So I don't know if this is scheduled or unscheduled. You got to think unscheduled, but not necessarily so.
Yeah, Westerfield was currently shown 3 laps down coming in, currently in the 5th position, 2 points. Looks like he had 65 behind the leader, so he doesn't look like he's in any threat, if you will, to fall out of the top 12. Could be another one of those overheating issues. Could be a scheduled deal where, hey, come in, get your tires, and just run it to the end.
Well, he was involved in that one wreck, so possibly some issues with that car as well. But right now, it's all Joshua Soucy. Stephen Massey second, Brad Bothwell in third. Massey now getting close to 3 seconds behind and fading. So it's going to be up to, if we go green, it's going to be George and Stutzman, and whether they can close late in this run. I don't think they can. I think the gap is too big, and I think Soucy probably just too solid, and he makes those adjustments to how he races based on who's coming and who's going. So right now, I mean, he's still running the fastest laps out there.
Yeah, but he's not running the fastest lap by much. That last lap of 15.617 to Stutzman 15.634. I say that, of course, he pulls a 15.4 to Soucy. So it just tells you, he can just light that wick really whenever he wants to. He's just trying to hold it down. 15.7 to Stutzman, 15.4 to Soucy. So Soucy a little bit quicker, but not astronomically like we saw earlier on, where he was running 14.9s to Stutzman's 15.7. So, and we're still seeing him pull away currently at almost 11 seconds on the 71. So I kind of have to agree with you. I think he's made the adjustments. I think he's done everything he needed to do. And the biggest difference is he's not burning up his equipment trying just to get to the lead.
Yeah, I think that's key. I mean, it's Stutzman, but we got to talk about George and what George is running. As George goes by Bothwell, finally, Bothwell on a little bit older tires there, but George running a 15.6 that lap. Let's stay with him for a lap or two and just see what George can lay down here.
Yeah, George about 0.4 of a second faster than Stutzman. That's going to be the one that I'm more intrigued on.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, he's running pretty consistent lap times right now. Soucy's still setting the pace, but it's Stutzman and George who are right there. And wow,
57 in the wall, yeah.
Joshua Johnson having all kinds of problems out here tonight, trying to hang on for his playoff life here and hoping one of these guys wrecks out of this race, which is always possible here at Bristol.
Yeah, one of the guys he's very close to as far as needing to wreck out of the race was that 96. It was right there, happened right in front of him. So you got to be sitting there and kind of feeling for Bothwell as he had to deal with that.
So we continue to ride with George here, and actually let's hop on board with Matthew George. Just see how smooth he is. And you can see the steering very slight on this machine.
Yeah, all these guys, you see right there, that he kind of just overshoots the corner just a little bit. Didn't quite get it all the way back down, but still running a good line nonetheless. He's running definitely 2 distinctive lines. Looks like in 1 and 2, or 3 or 4, he's right on the bottom. In 1 and 2, though, he's going to drive it in a little deep, kind of let it drift up a little bit high and try to pinch it back down to the bottom, not necessarily all the way down, try to keep the speed in that machine.
Let's look in on Stutzman now and see how he's running. Very similar. Looks like he's putting a little more wheel into it, but Stutzman was fastest that lap by, so everybody a little faster than our leader. Not sure if he had some lap traffic or not.
Yeah, the big thing is you've seen both of these guys really run in the bottom. Looks like Stutzman's coming off a little bit lower, especially in 3 and 4, going in a little bit higher and exiting lower. In 1 and 2, though, where it looks like George was a little bit about a lane up, if you will. Stutzman's still all the way down on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, very, very interesting here. And you see Stutzman continually getting a little bit loose here. I'm not sure if he made some adjustments or not. Let's take a look at Soucy from his in-car camera. And you can see Soucy there's, I mean, very smooth, but it looks to me like he's putting a little more wheel into it, just being a little more aggressive. And that's great, obviously leading the race now by 4.5 seconds, but could cost him on the long run.
Well, also keep in mind, we were following Stutzman as Stutzman was actually making the pass to get himself into the top 5. As you know, as we were on board right there, the car he was working on was that 96 of Bothwell, so moved the 71 of Stutzman into 4th.
Yeah, Stutzman up there doing a great job. And let's just see if we can get a replay here of that pass. You see him here off the corner, a little wiggle. We've seen that a couple of times. Way up the track is Bothwell. Stutzman just clears him in one corner, basically, down into the next corner. Job done.
Yeah, and then you see Stutzman right up to the top of that track as well. Kind of maybe was a little bit surprised that he was able to just take advantage as he did. Kind of overran that corner. And that's one of those things you will do here. You never know if, you know, all of a sudden a guy gives it to you and you go in as hard as you can and you're like, what? Oh, okay, now I'm running up the track. I was not expecting that.
We got Stutzman ahead of him. George now working on the 60 of Chris McCullough, who is a lap down. Let's look at those gaps. He's actually 2 laps down.
Yeah, I start talking about looking at gaps. Now is the witching hour. Joshua Soucy, that last time by, 1580. Jeremiah Stutzman, 1560. Now is the time. He's got 48 laps. Will he be able to make it happen?
Yeah, it's highly unlikely, Brad, with the gap that I'm seeing, that he'd be able to do it, or George for that matter. George coming through traffic, that's going to be why he's running those times. We'll stay with Matthew George and see what he can run now, as he's got Joshua Johnson on fresh rubber, scaring the daylights out of him. Wow. And you just see the way he whips through that corner, man. Those old tires, new tires, old tires, man, they're a lot different, Brad.
Oh, yeah, all the confidence in the world going through there. But even then, you got to be very careful because fresh tires, they're great until all of a sudden they're not. You know, you get in the middle of the corner and you're like, oh, yeah, these are going to stick. They're fresh. They're nothing. All of a sudden, you get a little bit of a push, a little bit of a little too much confidence, if you will. And next thing you know, you're right there. But the 71 of Jeremiah Stutzman, he is closing in on the back of that 50 of George.
So let's mark it here. Currently down 10.85 seconds to our leader. We'll see what he can close in. With 43 laps, it's almost no chance to catch Soucy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I think he can definitely catch George. Massey, it depends on how much that 97 falls off in all reality. Right now, Massey's running a 16.1. Stutzman's running a 15.90. So I'm not sure he's going to be able to catch Massey as well, but I think he can get to George.
You know, let's give a shout out to Massey. We talked a lot about other people here. Kind of left Stephen Massey out of it here. Part of Haters Make Us Famous Racing. The 97 has had one heck of a night. He's up 7 spots on the night. He's been solid on the short run and pretty good on the long run. I mean, all in all, second place car right here. He's got 2.5 seconds to George, and he's got 3.5 seconds to Stutzman. He's looking good all night long, Brad.
Oh, no, he really is. And, you know, they're doing a great job doing exactly what he did, managing this race perfectly, you know, taking advantage of the situations as far as getting tires and staying on the lead lap and everything like that. And, you know, that shows you exactly why he's currently sitting in the top 3 in points right now. You know, it's not necessarily where you start, it's where you finish.
So right now, it's all Soucy out front. Just ran a 15.8. You know, a 16.2 for Massey, a 16.09 for George, and a 15.8 for Stutzman. Slightly faster than Soucy, but not enough to close in the time he needs. And I think what you mentioned, Brad, about, you know, Soucy recognized the first run, what happened to him, and he's made an adjustment to his early driving in this run. He's going to be a little tougher here on the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you know, we're kind of setting the bar a little too high, if you will, and not necessarily setting it too high, but I think, you know, as far as Stutzman's concerned, you know, he's not running this race to win it. He's running this race to get the next stage, if you will, to get into the top 12. And he's running this race flawless when it comes to that, as far as getting himself into a position to be able to contend in the next round. And that's really all he can ask for right now. You know, you play with the cards that you've been dealt, and you make lemonade out of the lemons, if you will. And he's doing everything he can to make sure that he's around next week to be competitive.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what playoffs are all about. You've got to make sure, you know your situation, know when to come and when to go. So right now we're having a little heating up, if you will, the battle for third place here. Stutzman has caught George, Brad, and we'll see if he's able to get up here and get by him.
Yeah, that 71 continuing to get a little bit bigger and bigger in the mirror of that 50. That 71 just looks so smooth around the bottom of the track right now. You're not really seeing him jump out or anything. You see the 50 just right there in front of him. Not really under any type of duress or anything. It just doesn't look as natural. You see the car just get a little bit of a tweak. The 71 just on the exit of the corners, he's able to get a little bit lower and just get a little bit better drive off, really.
As this battle continues, we come down to 30 to go here in the Bristol 250, part of the Elite Championship Racing League. These guys running mostly under green flag conditions here tonight. Quite a battle out here. A lot of thinking, a lot of different strategies. Been highly entertaining, Brad.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, we talked about the 71 of Stutzman closing in on the 50, but don't look down. The 50's closing in on Massey. You know, that lead's starting to dwindle, as all three of these guys are within a second of each other. So, you know, it's not over for the top three by any stretch of the imagination. It's the 23 of looks like Hedrick going to be able to come through here with fresh tires, and that's going to slow these guys down a little bit, especially if they catch them at the wrong spot. You see right there, got caught on the top side. That's exactly where the 50 wanted to be, and that opened up the door for Stutzman to close in and make up a lot of time.
Now, what do you do if you're these two? If they start racing, they might let Massey get away. Maybe they just stay nose to tail until they get up to Massey. I don't know. We're down to 26 laps to go. It's getting tougher and tougher here. I don't know what's going to happen, Brad, but these second through fourth, what a battle they're going to have here.
Yeah, this is always the tough situation. You know, if you're Matthew George, do you just let him go? Do you say, all right, Stutzman, you go ahead and you do my dirty work, if you will. If you can get by me, you know, you're probably going to be faster. You're going to pull up on him. Maybe you'll be enough to let me catch up to the 97. Maybe I can learn something from you. Maybe I can follow your line or something. It's so tough to tell. As right now, it looks like the 71's going to try to work to the inside.
Yeah, and I think that's what you said is what he should do. But I don't know. They're racing for position. I don't think George is thinking about second place. He's thinking more about just holding this spot and holding Stutzman off, which is allowing Massey to get away. So Massey has pulled a couple of tenths since this little battle has begun.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Matthew George is not in the playoffs at all. So he has nothing to lose. His main deal here is, if you will, he is spoiler guy. He's the guy that wants to come in. He wants to be able to do everything he can. Right now, you see he's going to work the bottom. The 71's actually going to go to the top side. He's going to get one heck of a steam and try to do a little bit of a crossover here to the bottom. It looks like he's going to be able to see if he's going to be able to get the drive. He's going to be even with him going into one. I think the 71's going to be able to prevail here.
Yeah, eventually I think he will, but this is no easy pass here. George not willing to give it up. I don't blame him. 21 to go. He's going to race for everything, and they're not getting up here to use the 53 as a pick, so this just not working the way Stutzman would like it. Oh, and then the wall goes to 50. That's going to allow it to get done. So, you know, that's what happens. That's another thing around here, Brad. is when you run the low line all race long, what happens when you have to go up and run the high line?
Yeah, it's very different. Braking's different. How much wheel you put into it. I mean, even right there, you saw the two of them racing, and the 71 Stutzman being very generous, if you will, very gentlemanly, if you will, going down those straightaways, giving a ton of room in between. He probably could have made that pass work about a lap or two earlier had he just taken all of the track that was available to him and kind of pinched that 50 up on that top side, which is exactly what he needed to do to be able to carry that speed. But in wanting to make sure he did everything clean, it cost him some time. Now the question is he going to have enough time to catch that 97?
Yeah, it cost him some time, but it didn't cost him his championship. So that's what he was thinking, I think, and that's a great move from him. He's now working on the 53, and 53 now, Matthew McCann, currently, I think, 1 lap, maybe 2 laps down. McCann 2 laps down. He's racing for everything he can get here, currently in 7th place, so he's having a decent night. But Stutzman, with this traffic, this has killed any hopes he ever had of a race win. And we'll see if he can even get to Massey. I'm not sure. As the laps continue to click off, we're on 15 to go.
Yeah, one thing you're starting to see at that 71, you start to see him slide off the exit of these corners. That forward bite that he had early on is starting to go away, and that's probably due to having to fight that 50 of Matthew George so much. Got those tires a little hot, and you're starting to see it on the exit of these corners. The back end of that machine just starting to yaw just ever so slightly as the 50 of George starting to close back in on him. So I don't even think this battle for third's over yet.
Yeah, the battle for third is not over. And Massey up ahead. I mean, they're closing on him, but 13 to go. Stutzman has to stay in front. And this is nothing against George. It's just that if they get side by side again, it's over for trying to catch Massey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's over anyway, to be honest with you. Another shout out to Stephen Massey in 2nd place. He's been solid, man. Just solid. Sitting here in 2nd place, doing a great job.
Yeah, the only thing really Massey has to worry about is a situation in front of him, if you will, slowing him down. Right now he's got McCullen, that 03 directly in front of him. If the 03 has a little bit of an incident, maybe gets in the wall or something, makes him check up, it could totally change everything. But right now I think Massey is exactly where he needs to be. Right now, if he's able to get by that that 03, he's going to have a little bit of a headway as he does right there to Brian Dublé. I think he's going to have enough time and enough space where he's just got to put that thing on a cruise control.
Yeah, 10 to go. Looks like he's got it under control for 2nd. You look back, there's Stutzman and George. This battle rages on. George not giving up, nor should he. He's right in this thing. And a little bad exit there, like where that lap car was, kind of caused him to get a little loose or check up a little bit. But he is really working. You can see George's car stepping out a little bit as he tries to get back up here.
Yeah, they're just kind of trading that right now, both of them. Even the 71 doesn't happen every single time, but a lot of the time off of 2 here, right here, you'll see him. He gets back to the throttle, and the car just jumps loose a little bit. Now, this is where you're going to have a situation. The 71, we saw him. He was very tentative getting through lap or trying to get around the 50. Now he's got to try to really cut his way through lap traffic where you can't be tentative. You can't guess. And you've got to be really aggressive and able to make it clear. He was able to get by the 11 of Dublé, but now he's going to work to the inside of the 03. If he can get the 03 between them, I think that's going to be enough to give him just enough of a gap that he needs as he gets extremely sideways on the exit corner.
He does, and I think he was thinking what you thought, and he just wanted to get that car in between him, but that loose brought George right back in it. 5 to go. Soucy leading, going to win this thing if he keeps it on the track. Massey in 2nd. Your battle here for 3rd place, Stutzman and George.
Yeah, I'm really liking what George is doing. George is starting to take a little bit of a higher line in. Then he's playing a little bit of peekaboo. He's going to go down to the bottom. He's going to be side by side. The 71 is going to have the advantage on the exit, but the 71 has not gone into one on the top side. And you see it right there. He let out completely as if he was in the bottom. And you talked about it, just running the top. If you haven't run it all night, do you even understand, how you should be running?
He didn't, and he was too tentative up there. What a move by Matthew George, taking 3rd place back. Just fantastic. We're on 2 to go here, and it looks like George now solidifying that spot. It's over, I think, for 3rd. Soucy.
23. Sorry, 23 came off of one there sideways, collected the inside wall, almost brought out a caution, able to get it straightened out. We're back to green.
Soucy here after that almost drama. Coming through 3, coming through 4. The 81 of Joshua Soucy going to be your race winner here in the Bristol 250. Stephen Massey, just an excellent race all race long. The 97 going to come home in second. George going to hold off Stutzman.
Stutzman might have got clipped at the line. He did by Bothwell.
I'm showing a dead heat with Stutzman getting the position over Bothwell. We'll have to wait for official word. Now, what is iRacing scoring it as?
iRacing has Bothwell at an 11.821 to Stutzman at 11.824.
All right, it looks like Bothwell snags fourth place. What a move by him. But let's get to Soucy. What a job by him. Soucy first. You see here the 3 cars. You got Massey and George up there. What a job by these guys. Just excellent, excellent work. Soucy, he swept round 1, Brad.
Yeah, he did everything he needed to do. And, we're going to see that going into these last couple of races in this next season, next series of races, if you will. Who's going to be able to answer the bell? Who's going to be able to come up and challenge Soucy?
Yeah, someone's going to have to answer that bell. It's not going to be easy whatsoever. Right now, let's take a short commercial break. We'll get interviews with our top 3 and talk about who's in and who's out in the playoff picture. Welcome back here to the Elite Championship Racing League, where Joshua Soucy has completed the sweep all of round 1. He's going to go into round 2 with a wealth of points. Just a great job by him. Massey second, George third, Stutzman fourth, Bothwell in fifth. And between those guys, including Massey with what a great job he did, but George, Stutzman, Bothwell as well. Bothwell perhaps in fourth according to iRacing, so different from my scoring. But interesting little fights and difference between long run, short run. It was quite interesting racing, Brad.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, you saw a lot of different agendas, which you're really going to see on a race like this. A race where it's a cut race. You can make it in the next race. So a lot of different races going on within the race, if you will. We saw some totally different strategies as far as just kind of holding back early, saving your tires, and then being able to come on late versus being able to storm up through the field, as we talked about it in the pre-race. So, it's one of those races that really shows you two different strategies can really work.
They can. So we've got our points up. Now, these points are not accurate, folks. The people over here use a different scoring system. We have to implement that later on. But what I'm showing here is so Dublé lost a couple of spots, but still in. The question here is, and Brad, maybe you can enlighten us. We'll get official word after these interviews. But is Joshua Johnson out for sure? And
That's
is David Moody in or out?
Moody should be out. David Moody is out. He would not have made it in coming out. The question is going to be between Hedrick and Johnson, if you will, and I think it's all going to come down to they were separated by 6 points going in. They finished one position with Johnson to the good. I think the question is really going to be whether or not Hedrick, how we finished that first stage. But I think this looks pretty accurate.
All right, well, let's get into our race interviews and we'll get word from one of the league admins after that as to who's in and who's out. So, right now, I believe, Brad, you've got Matthew George down there.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm standing by with our third place finisher, the finisher that drove that number 50 here tonight. Matthew, great job. Looked like you started from the 6th place position, able to make your way through the field. Just kind of talk us through your night.
Wild, patient, patiently aggressive. Let's go with that. It was a fun race. I'm shocked the bottom worked as well as it did, and being on the bottom, it seemed like the top kind of wore the tires out just a little bit more than the bottom, and I noticed that with other guys, and I stayed committed to the bottom there, and I don't know, it worked throughout the whole race. Yeah.
It certainly did work. I mean, you did a heck of a job tonight. You did not run the full season. You only ran 12 starts this season. We're able to come away with the victory. It looks like you came home with the victory at Road America.
Yep.
So looks like you ran a lot of the road courses, if you will. I don't know if you would consider yourself a road course ace, if you will, or whatnot. But you want to elaborate?
No, I don't want to say that. I would like to finally win a race on a 1.5 mile track, but we'll see. I used to hate road courses, but somehow I've found a way.
Well, I mean, you want to win at a 1.5 miles, you almost had a shot at winning at a half mile. So, I mean, you're halfway there. But needless to say, in 12 starts, you've already had one pole, you've had one race win. Obviously not, going into the round of 12 with these guys, but it's got to give you some confidence. Had you been able to make the entire season and make all the races, you can run with these guys, and that's got to do some good confidence for you. Where do you look at going into the rest of the season and trying to close out here?
Well, every other league I've been in, I've always been in the championship hunt. This is my first time in any league I've ever been in being a spoiler. So this is kind of a cool and unique thing for me. So I'm just, I'm not staying out of anybody's way. I'm just going for wins, trying my best to get a win anywhere. I know all these guys are trying their best to get points, get a championship, get in the next round. But hey, I want to win.
Absolutely. And I don't want to take anything away, but just kind of talk us through that battle we saw there at the end with yourself in the 71. I mean, you saw obviously he was a little bit faster coming in. Did you just kind of stalk him a little bit, let him wear out his equipment, and then all of a sudden just know right when to pounce, or was that a situation where you just had to kind of get control of your car and let it come to you?
I don't know where he came from, honestly. But yeah, I just kind of stalked him, and somehow my car finally came to me. It seemed to be a little bit of a long run car for me, but that's kind of the driver I am. I need to be in a rhythm to finally get going. And the car finally came to me and found a way around them.
Well, it was great to watch. Congratulations on your third place finish. I'm just going to turn the mic over to you. Let you thank anybody you need to thank.
Yeah, first off, I want to say sorry to everybody I collected in that wreck. Car just snapped loose on me on a entry there. Thanks to the admins, everybody that put this show on. Thanks to all you guys, the broadcasters. Thanks everybody in Hizzy Days Racing, Jeremy Fear, Josh Soucy, David Moody. You guys are great. Thanks everybody out there who watches these broadcasts. Think that's it.
All right. Couldn't say it better ourselves. Thank you, Matthew. That's going to be the 50 of Matthew George coming home in third place. But, Dean, I believe you're standing by with the gentleman that finished the one step higher than him.
Yeah, I got the 97. Stephen Massey, second place here in the Bristol 250. Really nice race, Stephen. Congratulations.
Thanks, fellas. It was a fun one.
You know, Stephen, we were covering a lot of the Stutzman and George situation and the tire saving and going on. We were covering Soucy a little bit. We were neglecting you a little bit for a while, but here you are. You're running up towards the front the whole night long, and you're solidly in second. Just a solid run. Just talk a little bit about the strategy. Maybe running medium, maybe running hard early. How was the car and how was the long run?
The car was very tight. I didn't have any practice at all. First laps I turned was a few laps before qualifying. I was watching the Titans game because I'm a huge Titans fan. But the car was super tight, and I mean I was kind of just hanging on. I was kind of going hard there early because I thought if I just rolled the bottom, I'd be able to save tires. But about 50 to go in that first stage, it said you cooked the right front. So I was thinking that I was probably going to blow a tire. So I ended up having to really drop the pace off there. And then tried to fight Soucy a little bit so I didn't get lapped, and then it's fine. But the strategy in the second stage was to, I pit, and I took a big swing at it, trying to loosen that thing up. Got the lucky dog, of course. That was a big saving grace there to be able to hang on to the lucky dog there at the end of the stage. But then a caution comes out, and I go back down and I loosen up even more because those 5 laps I ran at the start of stage 2, it still felt tight. So I loosened it up even more, and the thing felt pretty good. Just couldn't compete with Soucy's car though. The strategy was kind of just try to take it easy, maintain pace with him. But man, it was just like halfway through the run, he kicked in the NOS and he was gone. So
Yeah, he keeps running that darn NOS, Steven. We don't know what we're gonna have to look into that. We'll have him in the inspection area later on to check that car out. But Soucy's awful tough. But Steven, especially without any practice, what a great job you did there. I mean, you see other guys out here who obviously put in some time out here for their playoff hopes, and it paid off. I mean, some guys were in really slow early and were really good on the long run. I thought that was a good strategy, and Soucy was just fast all around. But man, you're sitting there in second place. You've been close a couple of times up here. I think you got a win coming up here soon. I can feel it, Steven. And we look forward to round 2. What are your thoughts on round 2? You got Vegas, Dega, and the Roval.
I better get a win at Vegas. That's I don't feel very good about the other 2 tracks, which I did go back to back at Daytona this season. So I really feel like I need to put together a good performance at Vegas. Hopefully we don't have a Titans late game there, because I was at the game last weekend. I came out, I was drunk. If you saw me at Richmond, you'll understand why I was running the way I was running. Logged right in and I was drunk. But hopefully, I mean, Vegas will be good to us. It normally is to our team. We're good at intermediate tracks, and it's where I've usually been better than Soucy at. And we're going to kind of need to have a strong run there.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. It's how I think about it when I personally run. Vegas would be my shot, but I got to tell you, there's probably 16 other guys thinking the same thing. But nonetheless, football season here, affects all of us, a lot of us anyway. So we're glad that you got out here tonight and you had a really solid run. You solidified your points. You're already, in a really good position. You're going to be in a great position for round two. And we think you got a real shot up there at battling with Soucy going forward. So congrats on your second place finish here tonight, and congrats on going into round two of the playoffs. And if you want to thank anybody, Steven, now's the time.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for racing clean tonight, first and foremost. I want to thank ECR for putting this on, and I want to thank Full Throttle for broadcasting this. GTR Sim Rigs, Pay to Win Setups, and everyone else involved in this entire thing.
All right, Brad, that was the 97 Stephen Massey, second place finisher tonight. Mr. Patterson, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'm standing by with our race winner, the race winner of the Bristol 250 Elite Championship Racing Series. That's going to be Mr. Joshua Soucy. Joshua, 10 wins on the season. You swept the first round. How do you feel going into this?
It's Bristol, baby. That's all I can say about tonight. Obviously it's awesome to sweep the round, keep adding up those playoff points, just to help me in each round from here on out. But I mean, we've seen it before, and in real life, a guy swept around and it didn't pay off for him at the end. So, I can keep clicking these off, and it doesn't really matter until we get to Phoenix. That's what counts. We got to get there first, but then, I could have 20 wins in the season, but if I finish fourth at Phoenix, I'm probably not winning the championship.
Yeah, I mean, and that's very interesting you said that. I'm kind of looking back at your season here, if you will. Like we said, you had 10 wins on the season, and I'm kind of focusing in on a couple key things. We saw it looks like late March, if you will, early in the season, clicked off 3 wins, followed off by a third, but then 2 of your worst 3 finishes, going into it. And, we're going into Vegas, we're going into Dega, both tracks. It looks like earlier in the season, it's astonishing to me, honestly, didn't lead a single lap at either one of those tracks. I mean, you have a ton of momentum going towards you right now, but going into some tracks that you've obviously had a little bit of a problem at going into it, what do you think your chances are at these tracks? And, is it one of those situations where, hey, that's then, this is now, these guys know I'm here to win?
It's a little bit of that. And, honestly, beginning of the year, we were getting our butts kicked at the intermediate tracks by the haters group. We were there on speed, but they were just beating us like mid to long run. And we figured a few things out towards the middle of the season. I think I was able to finally get an intermediate win at some point in there. But I mean, it's been mostly road courses and short tracks, which is good because we had a lot of those. But Vegas, I just want a solid top 3 to 5 run. It'd be cool if I can go to contend for the win, but I know Steven's going to be really strong there. That's kind of his bread and butter type of track. And Dega is Dega. You don't really need to say much on there. I generally like to hang and ride, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Usually, it doesn't put you in a position for a win, but you can have a solid finish. And then the Roval, man, I've been strong on road courses this year, so I don't see why that shouldn't change. And the biggest thing I got going for me right now is all those bonus points I was able to accumulate in the regular season and then acquire here in this first round. Things can go south really, really fast. So I need every point I can get, and I just got to keep trying to get more of them. It's time to be greedy, time to get everything you can get, and I think everyone understands that. So we'll see what we can do, but I kind of like this round a little bit more than the next round.
Well, this round certainly liked you, and you said it yourself. It's time to go and possibly get a little greedy, which kind of leads me into my next question. You've got enough points in the bank. You've got a lot of bonus points and wins and everything like that. What is your risk versus reward going into some of these? We talk about Dega. Dega is one of those that it could really be out of your hands and tied up, if you will. Is that one of those deals where you kind of ride in the back and you just kind of try to get to the finish and hope you avoid the big one? Or are you going for the wins on all of these? What type of mentality do you have going into the second round, knowing that you're the points leader, knowing you have all the momentum?
Well, I mean, I want to win every race there is on the circuit. I'm also realistic, and the end goal is to finish first. You got to get there. You know what I mean? You got to get to the end of the race. So, uh, just like last week in a different league, I ran third to fifth at the first half of the race, and just studied, watched what everyone else was doing, try to learn a little bit more on the track, what was working, what wasn't working, and that's probably going to be my mentality for. Um, Vegas and Charlotte if I'm off at Charlotte. But there's not really much else you can do. I'm not going to be out there trying to tear the wall down and set the fastest lap and everything. And Dega's Dega, like I said, I'll probably try to get in a comfortable position and ride. Not really push for the lead too much, but that's all going to depend on how it unfolds right off the rip. You never know what's going to happen there. There could be a big one, and I could get caught up in it early, or that could be a big one and I miss it, and then I'm just riding around with two other cars. You can't really predict what's going to happen there, so I kind of throw that one out the window. But as far as Vegas, we're going to have to turn a bunch of wrenches and kind of see where the other guys are at on speed wise. And primary focus is just going to be trying to work on the long run. And as you see a lot of these races, even on our tougher tracks, we have a lot of green flag runs. So I think that's going to be a key. We can always dial it in for the short run, but it's going to be lap 15 on. That's really going to count. So try to do the best I can to be up near the front, away from the trouble, and then kind of see how it unfolds at the end of the race.
Well, I can tell you now, if you just continue doing exactly what you've done so far, you're going to have one heck of a remainder season, if you will. You're going to have a good points lead going into all of these races. So, right now, I don't want to turn anything away from what you were able to accomplish tonight. A great win. You were able to dominate once you got out front and really changed up your race. And it seemed like on that second round, maybe an adjustment or whatnot. Really just, shortly just kind of talk us through tonight how you were able to make that adjustment for the second round to be able to really just be able to hold everybody off and just pull away.
Well, I didn't really change anything on the car. I was afraid to. I wanted a little bit more looseness about 3/4 mark off on the corner, which I had dialed out in practice because it was kind of snappy. And I just felt like the track was going to change like it did last week at Richmond and almost cost me the win when I made an adjustment on pit road. So I just left it alone and said, ride it out and be patient. I didn't take off right from the rip on those green flags as hard as I could. The main objective was thinking about the long run, saving, oddly enough, the left front tire here, and just hitting my marks and not letting anyone put any unnecessary pressure on me, and just kept waiting for them to start fading. And then when they did, I just started smiling a little bit and kept doing what I was doing.
Well, Josh, congratulations on your win tonight. I'm going to turn the mic over to you real quick and let you thank anybody you need to thank. But solid job. Great victory tonight, and you're looking extremely well going into this next series.
I appreciate it, man. First and foremost, I want to thank Speed Demon Setups. I'm glad I was able to rep them out here, get them another win. Everyone in our league, all of our RCs and admins, they always do a great job. Big shout out to you guys, broadcasting as usual. I joked last week. I thought you guys were my lucky charm, but it might be true. We'll find out next week. And a lot of hard work on the team. Everyone at Hazy Days Racing. Big shout out to David getting his first career league pole. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out so well for him, and I think he got knocked out of the playoffs. But big shout out to him. Big shout out to Matthew, running really strong. We're not going to slow down here. We're going to keep working on it and doing the best we can. Everyone in our league that sponsors and helps with everything behind the scenes, big thank you. Mark Soucy, I want to give you a shout out. I know we like to talk a lot, but thank you for listening to us on our long-winded interviews. And we'll pack this thing up and get ready for next week.
All right, Josh. Thank you very much, and congratulations on your win. That's going to be Josh Soucy in the 81. Dean, I believe you're standing by with a league admin to solidify the points going into the next round.
I am. I mean, it was great to see Joshua Soucy out here winning. We now move our attention to who's in and who's out. I'm speaking with Jim Westerfield. Welcome to the booth, Jim. And before you get started, congratulations on making round 2 of the playoffs.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad round one is over with. That was 3 tough tracks to start the playoffs, and it was great racing in all 3 of them, though. So it was definitely a challenge.
Yeah, it was a challenge. I mean, they are grueling, tough tracks. It's survival more times than not. You managed to do a great job of that. But let's talk about, we have the points. We've seen that they're updated on your site, so we put them up on the screen. And maybe we can just talk a little bit about a couple of guys who didn't make it here and the guys who squeaked in on the bottom. In particular, Joshua Johnson, Brian Dublé surviving here tonight.
Yeah, which was I was excited to see that for Joshua. I know he's had some rough times here lately, and for him to make it to the next round, I know he's excited, and I'm sure he will do pretty good in this next round too. So I'm happy for him, and it was good for Brian too. I know he's been trying really hard all year long, so I'm excited to see what they do next round.
Definitely. You also looking at this. I mean, you see Stutzman had a big night here tonight. He really slow rolled the start of the race there and came back late in both runs, having a big night. He's going to be in, I think, in 10th place there. So a great job by him. But what can we expect moving forward? I mean, we know about Soucy, but who can get up there and challenge him, Jim?
It's gonna be tough. You can he's definitely fast every week, but that's why we do the races because you just never know what's gonna happen, and somebody could get a good streak going for 2 races and down below the top 4. You just never know. So I'm hoping something definitely changes to where we give him a little bit of competition because he does look like the class of the field right now.
Yeah, he is obviously very tough, but I think we've seen some out of George and Massey. We've seen some, well, from yourself at certain tracks and everything. So, Jim, you're no slouch yourself. James Wallace was up there. Figueroa's been at different tracks. So lots of guys have a shot as these go forward. Anything you'd like to highlight at this point, Jim, about this league or where people can find you or any sponsors you'd like to shout out?
Just all our normal sponsors, pay to win setups, GTR, sim rigs. I don't have a list here right now. But I'm sure you've been saying them all race. You guys for broadcasting, obviously, and yeah, it's just gonna be a tough fight. There's all of them guys.
Yeah, a little shout out to Dragon Clad, our RNG custom paints there, Eaton Sports Cars. So lots of great sponsors here and a great league. I think you guys have been putting on just a great show here, keeping this league, with quality people. That's obviously the focus here. I think it's the right focus, and we've been glad to cover you, and I think you've built something special here, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully in the off season we can kind of double the numbers on the field so we can. I always like to get 30 cars at least, just for the competition state. I mean, it's awesome when we get a solid group like we do now, but I know there's more people like us out there, and we just got to find them.
Absolutely. Tough to find the best of the best, and I think that's what you got here. But thanks for stopping up here, Jim, and kind of clarifying the points situation. I can't wait for round 2, man. It's going to be highly entertaining. We're going to end it at a road course. Lord knows who could get in there and what could happen there. It's going to be highly interesting. But thanks for stopping up to the booth, and we wish you all the best in round number 2.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for showing up and broadcasting every week. I love watching them throughout the week. So thank you for what you do. That's for sure.
All right, Brad. That was one of our admins at 35, Jim Westerfield, also racing his way into round number 2.
Yeah, they did a great job so far going into these playoffs, and it's very interesting looking at those points. We saw them. We're getting ready to go into the round and chop it down to 8th, and currently 8th, 9th, and 10th. They're tied in points. I mean, how much closer do you get to that? I mean, there's 14 points separating 8th through 10th, but no points from, or I'm sure, sorry, 8th to 12th, but no points separating 8th to 10th. That's how close these guys are. I mean, 1 point tonight where we saw Brian Bothwell just squeak by the 71. puts him one position ahead in the points. I mean, it's going to be so close and so interesting. Everything's going to be there for this entire thing, and I really look forward to calling it.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. 3 guys tied for 8th. 8th is the cutoff. So that's, I mean, Brad Bothwell, Kenny McCullough, and Jeremiah Stutzman, man, they're in a battle to save their lives here. Course ends on a road course. It's all going to be great stuff. I can't wait to cover all this action as well. We're going to have it every Sunday, 8 p.m. That's the Elite Championship Racing League. We also got other broadcasts all week long. Come out and check them. I think tomorrow night, we got the Cup Series, the Dirk Matter Designs Cup Series over at Full Throttle Sim Racing. Come check that out. But for tonight, for myself, Dean Doucette, and for Mr. Brad Patterson, that's going to wrap it up here from Bristol Motor Speedway. And we'll see you right here next time on Full Throttle TV.